So welcome everybody to Bring Out the Barbecue class. Got quite a few interesting recipes to share with you. We're not actually using a barbecue, but you can do some of these on a barbecue, and a lot of them are accompaniments and things that you would use anyway. So before we start, just everyone here got a Thermomix, or anybody not have a Thermomix? If you haven't got a Thermomix, can you please put it in the chat box? Chat box is down the bottom. So I'm going to sort of assume that everybody has, because no one's, I know it takes a little while to type, but if you can still keep typing, all right? Okay, so a couple of things I just want to share with you too is we now have new host rewards. Whoever's just joined, could you please mute? Thank you. So our host rewards have changed as of the beginning of October, and now basically you either get, we used to have bundles, but now we have singles. So you can either get one of these 2.6 litres, you do get 2 of the 500 mils, or you can get one of the 2.5 litre thermoservers. We also have the white thermoserver with the clear lid, which actually is 2.2 litres. So it's like anyone who had a TM31, that was the size that you got usually with your TM31. It fits into your Varoma, but this one with a clear lid is really good for yogurt. So that's really why that's coming along, but it looks beautiful with pink things in it, because that's what's in the brochure. It looks amazing. Other host rewards are, of course, our bread mats and bread mats. So remembering, of course, if you host or when you host, if someone purchases, one of your guests purchases, you get any of those items for free. If someone doesn't purchase, then there is a small fee, but the maximum is $50, and I think the others are either $25 or $30. So it's actually really good value. So have a think about hosting, have a chat with your consultant, and remembering, of course, that if you want to join us in our team, where we have lots of fun, the multicultural mixers, we have people from all over the world here. Then we'd love to have you along. I'm just going to get rid of these and then we'll get started. One of the amazing things about having so many different people in our different nationalities in our team is we've got a lot to learn, lots of people to learn from, which is fabulous. All right, so first of all, I am getting set up a chicken, and I've started setting up my chicken. But what I'm going to do is show you the next stage. So this is the 5-spice chicken. Now the 5-spice chicken recipe on Cookie Doo actually has ground coffee in it as well. I don't like coffee, and we're lucky we didn't have any. So sorry, not like the instant that you have to. Okay, I see Suzanne doesn't have a Thermomix. Cool. Thanks, Suzanne. So. But I've got all the other spices in there. So there's brown sugar, there's what else is there? There's in my cupboard. We've got paprika, we've got cayenne pepper, we've got allspice, salt and pepper. So that's it. And this is beer can chicken, except it's actually sitting on a gin and tonic UDL, because that was the only can we had. And as I said to Irene before, I did have a slurp, because you got to take a little bit out, but it wasn't very nice. So I'm more than happy to tip a little bit down the sink. So it's sort of half full of that. It can be any liquid in there. The reason for this is it will make the chicken really moist as it's cooking in the oven, and it will also make it nice and crispy on the outside. And as Irene pointed out to me, it's because it's sitting on the can, it's not going to make a massive mess of my tray either, which is always a good thing, as little washing up as possible. But the reason I'm making this is because I'm going to show you the Meter Plus. So the Meter Plus is actually part of our bundle with purchase this month. The Meter Plus with the barbecue cookbook, which is this, and some skewers. The skewers are really fancy skewers too, and they have bits on them that actually let you know how normally you have to use a fork to get stuff off your skewer. It's got a little thing on there which helps you get this off your skewer. So what the Meter Plus does, it's basically, it's a Wi-Fi Bluetooth thermometer. And what I'm going to do is put it in to a part, find my little thing here. There's a little, really I need to get it in as far as there. There's actually a little ridge on it there. And you just have to put it into the meatiest part of the bird. So it's going to go in there. And the other thing you've got to do is make sure that you don't, oops, I'm going to have to just wash my hands. That you don't hit bone, because that will also make a difference. So now I've got the app on my phone. I'm going to go set up cook. I'm cooking poultry. I'm cooking chicken. I'm cooking a whole chicken. And I'm going to go well done. All right, so I don't want dry. Why would you have dry? It is an American app. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to just go start cook. And let's put the sound on so I hear when it lets me know things are happening. And it's going to, I'm just going to keep an eye on this. It doesn't tell you the time until you've got it in the oven and it starts to heat up. But I've got my oven ready on 200 degrees, so I'm going to pop it just straight in there now. So bear with me whilst I do that. Okay, so just put that on one side, and we're going to go straight to the next dish because my dishes seem to be the ones that are taking longest. So we're making the cornbread with jalapeno honey butter, just for something different, because you know at barbecues often, you know, there's bread or whatever, and I just thought we'd do something different today. So I've got it set up in my week. So Susanna, this is cookie dough that we're getting. This is our smart connected kitchen. I can go straight into the cookie dough and look for things, but I can also meal plan. So in here we had various ideas for the for this class, and I'm doing the cornbread with the jalapeno honey butter. So it's just telling me to start cooking. So it says preheat a barbecue to high heat or place a grill pan over high heat on the stove top. Place 2 fresh jalapeno chilies and barbecue or pan and grill, turning frequently for 5 to 10 minutes until charred on all sides. So I've obviously pre-done that because that's a bit of a waste of time. For here, not a waste of time for the recipe. So I'm going to put my jalapenos in. They got a little bit soggy, so they're going in. And just telling me to put the measuring cup on. 3 seconds. Speed 5. And it's asking me to scrape down the side of the bowl. So for anybody who doesn't know, you can just touch the screen of your Thermomix to make it stop making your chime. And you can also change your settings so it chimes for less. All right. Then I'm going to put in 50 grams of honey. So after our zero waste class we had the other week, my husband and I went to the Source Bulk Foods. There's one in Glenferrie Road. There's a few around the place. And we actually filled up a big container for honey. So we're just reusing our honey. But of course, honey's sticky and it's sticking onto my container here, even though I weighed it before. And the great thing about that place, actually, if you haven't been, you can take your jars, and it didn't matter. I needed to fill up my oregano, but I didn't need a whole, I still had a bit left in it. So it actually, you can, that's all right, because they just weigh your container with whatever's in it. And then you, it has to be a little bit short on the honey. And then they weigh it after you filled it up, and you just pay the difference. So 150 grams of salted butter going in here. And that just says soften. So that's actually just been sitting at room temperature since last night. So now it's just going to mix it all on speed 4, 10 seconds. Transfer into a sealable container and place into the fridge until ready to serve. There we go. I'm actually just going to put it on one side and use a different bowl so we can just keep going, and I'll scrape that out later. All right. Okay. Preheat a hooded barbecue or an oven. As I said, I'm just using the oven today, but you obviously can do these in the barbecue as well. Grease and line around cake tin. I'm using one of our lovely rose gold cake tins from the mix shop. 125 grams of cheddar. So, you know, as we know with all our cheeses, when you grate them freshly, they have no additives and preservatives in them. Whereas if you get them from the supermarket, then you've got anti-caking agent in there. So 3 seconds, speed 7. And then cheese all grated up, and obviously Parmesan cheese is a heavier, is a drier cheese, but that's a really good one. Actually, it smells really good to use your Parmesan instead of buying the ready grated stuff. Prepare my scales. I've got polenta here. And Kelly, if you're there, some of this is coming over the road later. All right.
Oh, yum, thank you.
And that's gluten-free, and I'm using gluten-free plain flour as well. $30 grams of white sugar. Well, I've got, I've decided, it says to taste, so I'm just putting a little bit of sugar in. I've got 15 grams of raw sugar. That's one of the great things about this machine. You can decide what you want to put in there. Or not, if that's the case. I've got my salt over here. Teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of baking powder, gluten-free baking powder. Half a teaspoon of bicarb soda. Three 20 grams of milk. Has anybody made this before? Pop in the chat box if you have. 328, okay, I think that'll be right. We made it once when our son was here. It was actually really good. 3 eggs. Just pre-break my eggs. They're ready in here to go. 60 grams of olive oil. One gram scale's got to really concentrate. There we go. Put my lid on. It's obviously just going to mix it all up for 10 seconds on speed 4. Okay. Then it's 60 grams of frozen corn kernels. So it's very sloppy. There. I'm going to put my frozen corn kernels in there. Oh, that's a few extra. I wasn't getting them back into the packet, so they're in. Another mix on reverse because we've got the corn in there. Doesn't want to chop up the corn. 5 seconds, speed 4. Pop it into the tin. All right. Now, just a couple of things with this. Obviously, you can make whatever flavour butter you want to make. Looking for another spatula. you know, really that's up to you and your imagination, whatever flavors you want. With this, on any flavor, butter will store in the fridge for a couple of weeks. But if you were to sort of make it into a bit of a log, and you could just wrap it in some greaseproof paper, you can either store it like that, or what you could do after you've done that is just make it into, just chop that log into little pieces and freeze them. So you've got a little pat of butter that you can pull out when you want it. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, the other thing in the recipe, it does say you can use pickled jalapenos instead of processing them yourself, and you can use fresh corn and cook it yourself before you actually, instead of the frozen. All right, so I am going to put this into the oven, and we are moving over to Pearl, who's going to show us a beautiful potato salad.
I thought it was me.
Hi everyone. Today I'm going to make chili Raita Potato Salad.
Sorry, hang on a minute, Pearl. I'm sorry. It does need to be Keisha because she's got a bit of cooking to do.
Okay, sure. No worries.
Sorry. You're right, Keisha.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm Kasia. I will be doing sausage sizzle with beer braised onions. So what I've done ahead, I place oil and butter into mixing bowl and heat it for 3 minutes. And then I added onions, salt and pepper and cook for 20 minutes. And this is the result. The onions are soft and translucent. If you can have a look. And it's asking me next to put the beer, and I will cook it for another 20 minutes. So I'll go to the recipe and asking me for 250 beer of choice. I've chose today the Heinesser. I don't know if I pronounced it right. Okay, so if I press next, it tells me to put them with the lid without the measuring cup, which is the one that sits on the top usually, because it will be cooking, the steam has to come out. So I'm gonna put for 20 minutes on speed 1 on 100 degrees Celsius. And this is it for me at the moment.
Lovely, thank you. Now, I see I was a bit naughty. I hopped in there and did my second dish. I shouldn't have. Anyway, it's now over to Pearl, please.
Okay, no worries. Today I'm going to make a chili Raita Potato Salad. To be honest, I have not made this because this recipe is on cookie dough, and so far cookie dough has not failed me. So let's see what this recipe is. I have saved it in my week. So let's go to that. Now, if you look at the recipe, start cooking, and then it gives you whatever ingredients are required. Just to save time, I have steamed my potatoes and kept them aside because it takes 10 minutes and I didn't want to waste your time. So I have just steamed my potatoes and I have put them aside. Now, one thing I want to show you is now this is the recipe. I have already done part of it. So if I go through this recipe, I can start wherever I have stopped or whatever I have already done. Also, if you look at the bottom of the recipe, it gives you hints and tips. Can you see my screen? So it gives you all the hints and tips, and it tells you to use waxy potatoes because they are the best for potato salad, because they hold their shape and keep the firm texture when cooked. It also tells you you can make your own garam masala, and you have got the recipe on the cookie dough. You can find chili threads. That's what is required for the recipe. And the salad is best eaten cold and kept in the fridge. So that's what it's telling you. Today I have ground my own cumin seeds and coriander powder. And the smell that you get is totally different from what you buy, without having any additives added to my coriander and chili powder. So I'll be using it later on so you can see. And the smell is so strong. Okay, so let's start cooking. So I have done all this part. Potatoes I boiled. So I'm going to start directly here, removed from the. So that's the advantage of TM6, that you can start in the middle of the recipe. So it tells me place 3 sprigs of onion, shallots, everything. All this is cut and put here. Coriander, 4 sprigs of mint leaves, lemon zest, fresh long green chili. Put all that into the measuring cup. Do next. That's the advantage of cooking. Put it on speed 7. It's saying add it to the reserved potatoes. So I've already boiled my potatoes and kept aside. So I'm going to put steamed, sorry, I've not boiled, I've steamed my potatoes. So put this here. This is the mixture in 3 seconds, what I've got. The advantage of this guided cooking is that even kids can do it. So that's good. And you know that you won't go wrong. Next, add capsicums to the potatoes. That's also I have done. Next, add Lebanese cucumber. I won't wash my bowl because I'm going to mix it up in any case. So I'll put the cucumbers, cut into halves. Insert measuring cup in bowl. Next. So for 1 second on speed 5. So for 1 second, this is what I got chopped. And it would take me forever to chop this like this so fine. So add some salt, put it in the simmering basket for 20 minutes so that it drains all the water out. Wow, this is so good. I'll give you one tip. Whenever we peel raw potatoes, you chop them, they become black. So if you put them in salt water, they won't change any color. So this is my thing. Put a little salt. Add some mint. Insert measuring cup. For 2 seconds on speed 7. Next. Susanna, this is for you. The Thermomix has got a weighing scale, so I'm going to weigh my yogurt. So 250 grams of yogurt. So it's a little over, it doesn't matter. Next, 3 pinches of dried chili flakes. I'm not using that. The advantage of the recipe is that you can add whatever you want, or make your own changes, or put whatever extra you want, which is not mentioned on the recipe. All my garam masala, everything I have put here, cumin seeds, ground. Ooh, the smell is very strong. And I'm going to just mix it for 3 seconds on speed 5. And it automatically goes on to reverse. Next. Add it to the... How easy is this? It's all done. So now I'll put it in the fridge and I'll come back to you all and show when I plated it. It's all done. It's saying transfer and put in the fridge to cool. That's it.
Okay, back to me. Thanks, Boone. I'm glad you're in charge. Know where to go next. So what I'm going to do now is this chicken, which I just wanted to show you. I had my oven preheating for a while. I don't know if you can see on there, my app there, it says I've got 23 minutes remaining. I have just turned the oven down. But the app is going to tell me when it's reached the temperature, the core temperature, and then it will tell me to take it out and let it rest. So this is the amazing thing about this app. Cool. The other, well, I'll talk about that actually as we're doing this. So, but this is part of the rest of this 5-spice chicken recipe. And what I would have normally done, you know, my zero waste thing. We've gone through that. So I'm going to do exactly what Pearl did. Go to recipe detail and find my spot down here, which is, I've done the meter plus bit. I'm onto the asparagus and pea salad. So I click straight into there. What I would normally have done was actually steam that chicken. You can still use the meter plus for that and then finish it off in the oven, but it was just a little bit easier today without fiddling around to do it in there. But when you steam your chicken, you get all the juices dropping down to your water. You automatically have chicken stock. And then when you've used up the chicken, you keep the bones. I put them back into that stock, not in my Thermomix. I actually do it overnight for bone broth in a slow cooker. But it means just there's no waste. And I do know someone said to me, you can actually grind up the bones afterwards because they're so soft, and use them on your garden, or I think she gives some to her dog. It just mixes in with the food. So lots of ways for our zero waste. And that's another way of cooking anyway. So I'm putting in, oh, I know what, this is the dressing. I actually do have all the dressing bits and pieces I weighed in, I got sorted last night. So in here, I've got 40 grams of extra virgin olive oil. I've got a red wine vinegar. I've got sugar, a little bit of Dijon mustard, which is sitting in here in a lump, pepper and salt. I'm going to put all of that in there. Pop the lid on. 10 seconds, speed 5. It smells amazing. So the salad component of this bowl, of this dish, is asparagus and pea salad. So I'm just letting that drip off there. I'm just going to actually put it back into the container I took it out of, but it's, you can see that's all nicely mixed up now. All right, so that's done. 500 grams of water. So this is the basis of all steaming. You need a minimum of 500 grams of water. Okay, that'll do. And you always steam at the, well, I'll put this in, but you always steam the stated time, the stated time for whatever vegetable or whatever meat you're steaming, and you just turn it up to speed 1, but it's always Varoma temperature, and you always have a minimum of 500 grams of water. If we wanted to speed this up, I would have put boiling water in there, but it's not such an issue today. So I'm just going to put, as you notice, I didn't wash the bowl either, so that's no drama with that. So place the varoma dish in position. 2 bunches of asparagus. I've just cut it into sort of 3 centimetre bits. Plenty of space in there. We'll move it forward so it doesn't go underneath my cupboard. And that's my asparagus. Insert the varoma tray. So, just seen one bit of asparagus left in here. Pop that in there. And weigh 150 grams of sugar snap peas. Now that's a little bit over, but I'm not going to worry about that. Rather than them sitting and going mouldy in the bottom of the fridge, I'd rather use them now. Secure my varoma lid, and it's going to steam for 8 minutes, varoma temperature, speed 2. All right, so I'll get that going, and we are off to Pam. Actually, that's probably me again in a minute. Pam, do you want me to share that video now? You're muted. Pam, you're muted.
Sorry about that. That's unlike me. You know, I'm a bit of a talker. So yes, I am. Could I have a very quick word first, and then we'll go?
Yes, go for it.
I just want to say thank you. Hello, welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to do some sous vide, pardon me, sous vide this morning. Oh, crikey, my voice is going. So sous vide, for those who may or may not know, is just literally 2 words meaning under vacuum in French. And fundamentally, it is a professional chef's best secret, because it turns out uniform, consistent, tender, juicy meat and fish every time. And it just takes away a lot of the difficulties. And you find a lot of professional chefs use it in restaurants, but also when there's large catering quantities and things like that. It just makes life a lot easier. Now, like everything to do with Thermomix, they've made it easier for us too, and we've got that as part of our function. So I'm just going to show you now, we did a little video from earlier today, because it's been on for an hour and a half, show you how I sealed and started everything. So if we could go to that now, that would be great. Thanks, Mandy. Here we go. Okie dokie. So I'm just showing you here, that's the blade cover that you can purchase from Thermomix. Unfortunately, I think there's still a waiting list for those, but that just pops in and that covers the blades. So your sous vide can sit on top. I'm going to pour in the water, and that's just room temperature water there. You want it up to a reasonable height because you want to cover the meat completely. Now, you don't necessarily even need whiz-bang equipment. BPA Ziploc bags, and these are basic ones I bought from the supermarket. You can use those. Now, I've missed, this is a little bit on the big side, but never mind, it still works well. So I put a little bit of salt and pepper, just basically season the meat before it's gone in, pop it in there, and then we're just going to put that into the Thermomix, sink it in so you're getting the air out. So make sure it's under the water, and then you just seal it up and just pull the air out. You just push it out through, as I said, having it submerged. And then that's sealed. Now, another option, and there are a couple of options here actually, another option is to use a proper vacuum sealer. Thermomix do have one, and Mandy will show you hers a bit later. But I've also got one that I bought from, we won't mention any names, but Aldi. And like most things from Aldi, it's very handy, and it's not too expensive. So I've just used a Thermomix bag, and I'm just putting it into the sealer there. These special Thermomix bags that I'll show you in a sec when we finish the video are exactly the right size for Thermomixes. And you can see there, that's just taking all the air out of it and vacuum sealing it. So the Thermomix bags that you can purchase on the mix shop are cut to the right size, and you can seal them yourself using either this sort of sealing method or a Thermomix sealer, which is Mandy will show you. So it's I don't think it was around about $70, I think, for that Aldi one. It's not ridiculously expensive, but anyway, and that just goes, pop it into the water bath as well. So I'm just going to put that in there. The other thing to do is just use a squeeze of lemon, just basically roughly juice from half a lemon. And that is mainly so the blades don't discolor, keeps the bowl clean. And also, when we're cooking at relatively low temperatures, you want to make sure that you've got to be very careful with hygiene. So the meat juice also, it helps basically keep it a bit more what's the right word? Hygienic. So you can see I've just turned on the sous vide function on Thermomix. I've just swiped left and I put that on for 1 hour 30, which is 90 minutes. I like 53 degrees, which gives me a rare piece of steak. And this is Scotch fillet, by the way. And well, that's the end of that. So I like 53 degrees. 55 is what Thermomix recommend on their recipe for, I think maybe medium rare or possibly rare. But we've done a bit of experimentation. That's the temperature that we like. And as I said, we're doing it for 90 minutes. So that is literally just finished now. And while we're doing that, so if we don't need to come to my little screen because I'm just going to basically, because it's just stopped. So that's it being kept at 53 degrees, or it's just gone down slightly to 50 now. So I'm going to pull these out and you'll see exactly what I meant. Now, I should be using tongs, but I'm not. It's not actually that hot because it's been 56 degrees, 53 degrees. So I'll pull that one out and you can see roughly. So you might say, well, I'm not going to eat a steak like that. That looks revolting. Now, I'm just going to turn this up a bit, up to high heat. But the most important thing, I'm just going to cut to show you, it's uniformly cooked all the way through. So that's the way I like my steak. I don't know whether you can see that clearly there. That's the way I like my steak. The best thing is it's very important, though, again, because of the whole issue of hygiene. I'm just going to wash my hands. Because of the whole issue of hygiene, because it's been at a lower temperature, it is a good idea to sear it just briefly on high heat. Now, normally I would do this in a barbecue, but I'm going to do it on a pan inside, a heavy-based pan, cast iron pan. I've got my mother's old Le Creuset. So you can see there's some juices in there that it's beautiful, but it's so tender. That's the thing. It's literally melting in your mouth. And you do get, as I said, consistent quality from it. So what I'm going to do is just dry that off. I'm going to pat it dry with some paper towel.
You're inspiring me to give it a go. It looks amazing.
Look, it's surprising. I mean, we've seen it on MasterChef and things like that. I mean, that's probably for a lot of us the first time we've maybe seen sous vide actually done. Now they have the big water baths and things like that. But you see, it's a classic Thermomix thing because there are so many different quite chefy techniques that Thermomix allows you to do in your own home without any difficulty. I literally, well, you saw what I did with those things. You can just use a Ziploc bag and put it into the Thermomix, turn the buttons, and it comes out. So, you know, it's amazing. Anyway, I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil on here before I put it in the hot pan. Tiny bit. Just going to rub that on. And my pan is heating up nicely. I can hear it. So I'm using a lot of this at the moment because it's just trying to keep everything super clean and hygienic, a bit more hygienic. I'll get rid of that in a minute. Yep, that's hot. Okay, now I've just got a little timer so you can't make any mistakes. I've got my timer set for 35 seconds, so I'm just going to sear this quickly. You may or may not be able to hear that. Basically, that's just going to sit there. It's going to sear. That's all. It's not really cooking. But the important thing is it's super high heat. Again, just to make sure there's no germs, because you have been cooking it at 53 degrees. And you'll notice my Thermomix, you can't see it right now maybe, but my Thermomix didn't go red, which is 60 degrees for that. So there we go. My timer's about to go off. There we are. I'm going to turn that over. And that's going to have another 30 seconds roughly with that. I'm just going to get rid of this rubbish. You might like your steaks a bit more well cooked, obviously, and you just look up the recipe temperatures and check those for the temperature that you like. I tell you one thing that's really good, and that's cooking chicken breast fillets, because they are notorious for going hard and dry on the barbecue. So, just going to, whoops, sorry, that's my timer still going. Now, this is a beautiful piece of Scotch fillet. And if you can see that, it's perfectly cooked, nicely seared. So I'll plate that up and you can see it a bit more effectively later. But don't be afraid of sous vide. I think, to be honest, my husband's obsessed with barbecuing and steaks, and he is a huge convert to this, mainly because of the consistency of results. Look, if I was cheeky, I'd say there's no concentration required, and even drunks can manage it, because I've just got to press a few buttons and then you hand them, and they just sear it on both sides and serve it up. And your barbecue guests, for times when we're allowed to have barbecue guests, will be absolutely thrilled.
Thanks, Pam. That's amazing. Wonderful. Now we're over to Keisha. Actually, Keisha, have your
Yeah,
they finished?
Yes, it finished. It's hot inside, and the onions are not bruised much. Here you can see. And I put the mustard. It's asking me for for 20 grams of Dijon mustard. And 50 grams of honey. And next, and measuring cup this time we're gonna put in. Next, and you're gonna go for just 1 minute on 100 degrees speed 2, and it's a reverse speed, so it doesn't cut the onions. So it will go for 1 minute now. And then I will plate it with my hot dog roll and the barbecue sauce that I've made as well.
That's fantastic, Keisha. Thank you. And I think it says you can store the onions in the fridge for 2 days, which is great. And if you have a look on Cookie Do, there's also I know there's at least one person on here who I've forgotten the name of them. Sue, those onions that got you. Can't think of the name of them. Or Irene will know. Anyway, we're going to move over to Irene in a minute anyway. What are the onions? You can move to Irene anyway.
Hello, how are we all? Happy Saturday. So I am making the 2 recipes. One is called Chilli Pineapple, and the other one is a bread and butter pudding. So I guess we can't have a barbecue without dessert. So I'm going to move over to my other screen so we can get into this, and I'll show you everything that I've been making. Okay, so 2 recipes. One is called the chili pineapple with coconut crumbs, and the other one is the bread and butter pudding. I'm going to start with the chili pineapple. This is a recipe that requires you to use the blade cover. So similar to the sous vide, we're using the blade cover to basically cook the pineapple for 3 hours in a beautiful concoction of red chili and sugar, mint. Let's go down to this recipe. So essentially, it asks you at the beginning to make a coconut crumb. Sorry, if I go back one step, if you look at this recipe, it talks about the coconut crumb being served with some ice cream. So instead of doing the ice cream, I've decided to do the bread and butter pudding today. So I'm not doing the coconut crumb, but I'll walk you through that anyway. So the coconut crumb is essentially just preheat your oven, add some plain flour, some unsalted butter, some cinnamon, some white sugar and coconut flakes, and basically blitz those for about 10 seconds on speed 2.5, and then pop them in to cook for 8 to 10 minutes. Keep an eye on the crumb. So if you are doing any sort of crumble, just keep an eye so it doesn't burn. Then with the chili pineapple, essentially what you're doing is placing a long red chili in with the sugar. You're milling that down. If anyone's had, I'll go back to the days when we used to be able to go to the pub. We used to order wedges with a beautiful sweet chili and sour cream. So this is very similar in terms of flavour. So basically it's the sugar along with the chili. You mill that down for 10 seconds, you insert your blade cover, you pop in your pineapple that's been cut into large wedges, and you cook it essentially for 3 hours. At the end of that process, you remove the pineapple from the Thermomix, remove the blade cover, and then you pop the rest of these ingredients in. So I'm going to pick up from step 7. So from step 7, it's asking me for 300 grams of water. It's then asking me for 100 grams of rum. You could use brandy, you could use Baileys, you could use Malibu. You can leave the alcohol out. You can swap it out for other flavors. Just add an additional 100 grams of water and another spice of choice. I've got some lime juice. And again, back to the zero waste stuff. I've kept the peel. From my lime. I'm going to dry that out. I'm going to make a lime sugar. Okay, we then basically mix those for, I believe, 10 seconds. Then ask for some corn flour. It asks for the reserved chili syrup. So that's what I've got in here. So essentially I did 2 things. The first thing is there's a fair bit of liquid left. I've kept the 400 that I needed to continue this recipe. And then the rest of it I've reduced, and I'll show you what I did with that in a minute. So that goes in. So it asks for the simmering basket instead of the measuring cup. Our simmering basket goes on top, and that's to allow it to reduce, I guess, to some extent. And we're cooking that for 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to switch cameras and show you what I've been doing. Oh, before I do that, actually, I just want to show you. So the other recipe that I'm doing today is the bread and butter pudding. This is really quick and easy. So essentially all you're doing is you're popping in your raw sugar with your vanilla bean. I've just used vanilla bean paste. So essentially all I did is I chopped my sugar down for the 10 seconds. I've then added the rest of my ingredients. So it asks for cream, milk, 4 eggs. I've added some vanilla, and essentially you just mix those for 10 seconds. So I've already done that. So I wanted to show you that's really quick and easy. So it's just getting those ready to pour over all of my brioche. So last week we had our bread class. So in our bread class, I had a whole bunch of things, one of which was lots of brioche. So we made some brioche rolls. So this is stale, essentially could be stale brioche, stale bread, stale hot cross buns, anything that's left over, just let it go stale. Don't throw it out. Bread and butter pudding is sensational for picking up these things. Really lovely with the hot cross buns. The only thing to bear in mind is there's very little sugar in here. So I've used the correct amount of sugar, or the 80 grams that it asked for when I made the custard. If you're using something that's been pre-sweetened, reduce that sugar. Otherwise, it will just be too strong when you try it. So this is my custard, essentially, that 10-second mix. That goes all over the top of this stale bread. And I pour this in 2 batches. So you can see it's already trying to float to the top. So I'm going to leave a little bit. Take a spoon. And just kind of push it down and give it the time it needs to drink that. So I'm going to do that. Once I've poured the second batch over the top, I take this over to a preheated oven, 160 degrees, which I've got going already. I've just popped my kettle on, and once I pop this, so that one's obviously going inside another tray, which you can see here. That's going to the oven. I push this one to the side and I pour that water in. Don't try and pour the water in here and then try and lift it. It's far too heavy. Excuse me. And you want that water to come up roughly half up the side. And what that'll do is it'll allow it to set the custard really, really beautifully. So we're going to wait for this to soak, and then we'll show you some of the other things we did. So last night I obviously cooked those wedges, so that's what's left in here. So I'm waiting for that sauce to thicken, and it's going to go back over the top of those wedges. So that's the recipe that's in there. But everyone that knows me, I like to get a bit more inventive. So I've got another pineapple here. So I've cut the eyelets out. Now I've used one of these to do that. You can use a knife. These are like $2.50 on eBay. You probably wait till December till you get it. But effectively it just cuts that on the side, and it's just called a pineapple eye remover. You can get those on eBay really, really cheap. But they just take a long time to come because I think they're made in some very remote factories. So that's my pineapple. And then you can see all I've done is essentially pop that in the oven. I used 160 degrees when I baked this. Every 10 minutes, I baste it. So let's talk about that syrup. So that syrup that was in this jug earlier, I essentially reduced whatever was left, and I created a really, I guess, a nice pouring syrup as what I would use, like a maple syrup. And I literally brush that every 10 minutes. And you can see how gorgeous and golden that's turned out to be. So in terms of doing this on a barbecue, it would work if you've got a rotisserie. Fantastic. If you don't, I love to do this. And essentially what I do is I probably do 2 really large pineapples and then just keep basting them. And to serve this along with the bread and butter pudding would look absolutely stunning on your time tables when we finally do get a chance to go out and invite people over. So please give this a go. It's absolutely delicious. Now, I did put, because I used that initial liquid didn't have any rum in it, I've added probably two tablespoons of rum to this in terms of reducing it to have that rum flavour incorporate into this. So I'm looking forward to having this. I think my niece might be coming around a little bit later. She's probably the only visitor we see at the moment. She's the only one within our 5-kilometre travel zone. So I've got about 7 seconds to go on my syrup. I'm going to pour the rest of this over the top of my brioche. Okay, so let's plate up. So this is good to go. So I'm going to pop this in here. Gosh, you can really smell the rum. Now you can store this. There's tips in there to store this, and use it as a syrup on other dishes. So by all means, you can do that. So I've put one in earlier. Oh, this takes an hour to bake. So I started one earlier. Again, be really careful because this has got a fair bit of water in it. My tea towel. Be careful not to burn yourself. And you know it's ready when you push it down and it's firmed up. So let's close that. Okay, again, be really, really careful. I'm going to take this over to the sink to pour that water out. So it will rise, so give it the opportunity to do that. Asbestos fingers. Don't recommend you do that at home. There's my beautiful baked bread and butter pudding. I'm going to pop that onto my platter here. I quite like this thick syrup, so I'm just going to take some wedges. Okay, I'm going to lower this screen down so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to use the same one that I've thickened. You can certainly use the one that's in there. And then sprinkle a few coconut chips on top. Voila.
That looks absolutely amazing, Irene. Well,
I'm going to take a photo before I try it.
Yeah, make sure. Now, just if you come back to me just for a minute, Boone, I just want to show people something. So the Meter Plus has just made a little noise, made a little noise at me. It's saying you have 5 minutes for cooking time left. So when that's finished, obviously I'll pull it out and it might need to rest. But you can hear it's making a funny little squeaky noise. Okay. Before we move, we're going to Nicole in just a sec, but before we move there, I just thought I'd show you. So the there is a sous vide, what do you call it? Gosh, I've totally lost all my language this morning.
You call it the vacuum bags? Vacuum
the sous vide bags, and this is the vacuum pump to take them out. I haven't used it yet, it's not charged, but this is what you can actually get from the mix shop. Okay, and just to reiterate, that dessert that I didn't make it with the bread and butter pudding, but I did the chili pineapple with the ice cream and the coconut crumb. I've served it up a couple of times well before COVID with guests, and it is absolutely delicious. So well worth giving it a try. So we will go over to Nicole now, who's going to show us the Big Mac style sauce.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. I'm going to make the Big Mac sauce today. We've had a bit of a practice with this one and we really love it. I found it's nice and light, it goes well with burgers, but we really like it with fish as well. It's very similar to a kind of a tartare sauce. It's got that tanginess that goes really well. So I'll start first by making the sauce. Now, as you can see, the recipe's in cookie dough and it really couldn't be easier. So we'll start cooking and we're going to add 50 grams of pickled gherkins, which I've just cut up a little bit in here. And we've got 40 grams of shallots. A little bit over there. Now we're just going to pop the lid on with the measuring cup in place and mix that up for 7 seconds. Now, I don't know whether you could actually hear there, but while it mixes for 7 seconds, it only sounds like it really needs probably about 3 seconds to turn the chopped ingredients into a really fine chop, which is wonderful. That would take me a lot longer than 7 seconds. Now, we're just going to scrape down the bowl to get that down the bottom. Move on to our next step, which is adding 200 grams of mayonnaise. Now, you can make your own mayonnaise. I had some in the fridge that I need to use up, so I'm just going to use the rest of that and add 200 grams.
Good zero waste strategy.
That's just under 200, but that's what I've got left, so that's what we're using. We're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 2 pinches of salt. Now we're going to pop the lid back on. And we're going to mix that for 10 seconds on speed 4. Now, as you can see, that's taken a really short amount of time, and I've got a lovely sauce there. Now, the sauce, when you make it, is actually a little bit runny. It does need to set for a while. So I'll show you one that I made last night. This is thickened a fair bit, and it's got a really nice consistency. Now, for the sake of making it look a bit more like the Big Mac style sauce, I added a little bit of tomato sauce to this, just to give it a little bit of that pinky color. Now, my husband is kindly grilling up a burger, so I can show you what it looks like all presented.
How cool is it that you can make these things in your Thermomix and you know that you're not putting any nasties in there?
Exactly. So that's our finished burger with our sauce, and we've made mini Macs today, so little slider burgers.
Wow, that looks fantastic, Nicole. And what I'd like to see is you put your mouth around that.
No, that's going to my husband to do now after I've taken a photo.
Take a photo first. Thank you very much. Now we're back to Keisha to show us her hot dog with the onions and talk to us about her sauce.
Well done, Nicole.
Okay, I've made the onions. It's hard to see. Here we are.
Looks
Had a
good.
little sausage, and I've made the roll, hot dog rolls myself as well in the Thermomix, which was very easy. With the onions, I would probably cut them a little bit thicker next time. And yeah, and this is a barbecue sauce that I've made yesterday. And I'll show you what, this is the consistency that it has. It's beautiful color and flavor. And it has this very smoky, sour, sweet flavors. I'll show you what I did to make that sauce. Okay, can you see my screen on the Thermomix?
We can't read it, but
Yeah. So yeah, here you place 150 grams of brown onions cut into quarters, so you don't have to chop anything. 2 garlics, 800 ripe tomatoes. I had a canned tomatoes, so I put a canned tomatoes, 2 canned tomatoes. Capsicum, 1 red capsicum. Mixing with aid of spatula, I helped to move it along while it was doing on 5 seconds on speed 7. And after that, I added some salted butter and balsamic vinegar, 50 grams, and 100 grams of bourbon. Or you can use any whiskey that you want, or you can skip. I wouldn't skip it because it gives you this nice flavor. And without the measuring cup, for 5 minutes, it was cooked on speed 1 for the 100 degrees for 5 minutes. And after that, I added 60 grams peanut dates, which gives me sweetness, and dark brown sugar as well. Worcestershire sauce, 40 grams, a little bit of heat, 6-8 drops of Tabasco, and 1 teaspoon ground paprika. I had smoked paprika, so I put that in. 1.5 teaspoon of mustard powder, and I add in 1 teaspoon of ground roasted whittled seed, which I got it online, which I think it was very, you can taste it through the tomato sauce, and dry bay leaf, and 1 tablespoon of salt, and also 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. And I place the simmering basket on top, so it helps the steam come up, and it was cooking for 90 minutes at 100 degrees. So I didn't have to stand around the stove and stir it all the time. So it was done in a Thermomix but itself, and the steam was coming out gently on top. And after after the 90 minutes, I put the measuring cup, and I went for 1 minute, speed 9 to blend everything. And I pour it into the jars. So this is how the barbecue sauce was done. And it was about 1/2 liter of barbecue sauce after 800 grams of tomatoes and the rest of the ingredients.
Fabulous, thanks, Keisha. And again, you know, my plug for zero waste. Great thing is, I don't know if you've had a look in the supermarket recently, but a lot of the sauces you buy are in plastic. And make your own, put it in your own jars, and obviously, you know, less plastic, reusing your jars. It's all fantastic. All right, so we might go to Pearl and have a look at her salad plated up, please, soon.
Sorry, who am I supposed to go to now?
To me.
Yeah, Pearl.
Hang on. Just got a bit distracted.
You got lost in the Northern Lights there.
Yes, I did.
Okay, can you all see my salad? This is my potato salad.
Looks good.
Yeah, I didn't have the chili strand, so what I did is I took a grater and grated my red capsicums.
Clever idea. Always good to improvise. Have you tasted it?
Yeah, I did. It is yum.
Looks
It's very good.
amazing.
And this is the first time I've tried it out, so it's good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pearl. That looks amazing. Remember to take a photo.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. And now we're over to Pam, who is going to plate up her steak.
Thanks very much. I've just got, I've literally got it sitting here. I'm not doing much with it. We're going to have a very simple salad with ours today. Thank you. These are from Irene's garden, and maybe a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. But I tell you what, that barbecue sauce, I've had it before. It's spectacular. And in fact, I put a hamper together for Christmas last year and included a bottle of that and a whole lot of other homemade things for Christmas. And that might be something we do later. But this is my lunch, my husband and I having it. Couple of quick things I forgot to mention before. You can do up to 4 pieces of steak in the Thermomix, and the same with chicken breast fillets. If you don't have the blade cover, you can also use the simmering basket. I would say probably you wouldn't be able to get 4 in there, possibly 2. But that's something I said, you can put your name down for one of those. They're not very expensive. Also, very quickly, just so you see how that's, you pour the water out and then unhook that. So it's quite straightforward, but do pour the water out first down the sink, and just be careful with it. And I think that's probably all I needed to show you. Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pam. That's fantastic. Back to me, Boone, please. So my chicken, oh, can we see that? There's a little graph on there that's just showing you how it cooked, and it has literally just made a nice little chime at me to say it's done. So I took it out from the oven. It asked me to rest it for 7 minutes, and it is now done. So I'm just going to show you my bits and pieces here. I haven't taken it. My biggest challenge is going to be taking it off the can. And I did try and do that, but you know, skin's coming off. So I'm going to show it to you on the can, and then we will work that bit out later. But before we do that, that's my cornbread. Look at this, just beautiful. Yeah, still warm. So that was a 23-centimeter pan, and that's that butter is seriously good. So I'm looking forward to having a little bit of that. I've got my salad here. So it's literally just obviously you can add anything. You could add some seeds, or if you wanted to put tomatoes or anything else through it, you can do that. But it's literally just some salad leaves and the steamed asparagus and the sugar snap peas. So it's gonna be nice and crunchy. I did steam for a little bit longer because my asparagus was quite thick. So I did an extra couple of minutes on the asparagus. And here's our chook. So it's all, yeah, I'll negotiate getting it off in a minute. But you could see I was trying to, and the skin was coming off. So I thought I'd leave it sort of semi-pretty for you to see anyway. And I'll pull the Meter Plus probe out now, and we're away. Okay, so that's pretty much us for today. Thank you all for coming along. I know it's actually been a really nice day out there, but we appreciate your company. And next week, the branch is doing a class. It's called Cooking for Many or something like that. Cooking for a Crowd, I think it is. Yeah. So that's. I think I've sent that out to my customers, but you know, if you're interested in that, just let your consultant know. It's a great way to, I mean, hopefully we'll be able to cook for a crowd again soon. It's not too far away. And you guys in New South Wales, Big T, you're okay anyway. You can cook for a crowd now. So, yeah. Anyway, I'd love to see you. That is next Sunday at 2 p.m. But you need to register through Eventbrite for that. Anybody got any questions?
That was terrific. Thank you.
Pleasure, Sue. Thank you for coming along. You're a great supporter. Love it.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Mandy.
Anybody else got questions?
You can all unmute now.
Yeah, you absolutely can unmute if you've got any questions. No?
No questions, just a big thank you.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Maggie.
Cornbread coming over. Thanks, Julie, for coming.
Yum.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah,
And to you.
you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.